People can become obsessed with all kinds of things. They could obsess over a celebrity, be obsessed with video games, or even with things like scrolling on their phones or constantly snacking. These are all things that are fine in moderation, but at what point do they become an obsession? Let's look at some signs that something has become an obsession in our life and what we can do to break away from them. We'll begin by looking at indicators of an obsession. One of the best signs that we're obsessed with something is that we can't stop thinking about it. No matter what we're doing or where we are, we always think about that thing. We could be talking to someone about anything else, yet we find a way to steer the conversation onto that topic so we can talk about it. Inversely, we may even avoid the topic entirely because we're ashamed of how much time we spend obsessed with that thing. That leads us to a second indicator that we have an obsession. We know that we spend more time doing that thing or thinking about that topic than we should. This usually leads to us spending so much time with that activity that we avoid doing things we know we should do. We avoid other tasks and responsibilities by defaulting to the area where we're most comfortable. Another indicator is that we have a difficult time avoiding that thing. Can you avoid it for a day without thinking about it constantly? How about just an hour? A half hour? If you find you can't tear yourself away from something, that's a sign that you've become obsessed with it. If we can't seem to function without that thing in our life, then it has a strong grip on us that is unhealthy. So those are some indicators that we've become obsessed with something. But that leads us to the far more important question: what do we do if we are trapped by an obsession? How do we break free from it? Is it something we should cut ourselves off from entirely and immediately? Or is it something that we should slowly engage in less and less? The short answer to that question is, it depends. Let's take, for instance, an obsession with food. If you have an eating disorder where you're constantly overeating and junk food has started to consume you, it's not going to be helpful or realistic to stop eating entirely. On the contrary, if you're obsessed with the rush of shoplifting, that's something that should be stopped right away. Whether conquering your obsession takes a sudden approach or a prolonged approach, there are things you can do in order to increase your chances of successfully breaking free. The first thing you need is accountability. Find someone who can check up with you regularly to make sure you're making the right decisions to move towards positive change. If your only accountability is yourself, you'll be allowed to get away with far too much. If you are capable of it, try to take a sudden break from it and find other things to do with that time. People can even survive without food for a day, so this is technically possible with any obsession. You also want to make sure you have other things to do in order to help distract you from whatever you're trying to avoid. Don't just sit there wishing that you were doing that thing. Whether or not you're able to do a short, complete break from it, begin to limit your time with it. Start with small changes at that point so you don't set the bar too highly for yourself. Remember, lasting change takes time. Finally, throughout this entire process, remember to pray. You don't have to face the obsession alone. God can give you the strength, guidance, and endurance you need to overcome any obstacle. Don't let an obsession take over your life. Let God help you live a life that is pleasing to both you and Him. If you're interested in talking to me more about this subject, or if you have a question you'd like to ask me, I encourage you to contact me either through this program's Facebook page or by emailing me at sermoninthepocket@gmail.com. For those who are interested in helping me cover the cost of the program, best way to do so is by pledging a support on Patreon. And I encourage all of you to share this program with family and friends to help spread the message. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen, and I pray that you have a wonderful day.